So, hello, good morning. If you're live with me on the East Coast in the US, I'm Alex Levin, and you are with us at Sun and Moon Yoga Studio through YouTube, the YouTube channel. We also have yoga here every morning, Eastern Time, US, 10 a.m. for about a half hour. It's just a really, really lovely way to keep connected and come back to ourself, come back to that's a big theme for today. My topic is entitled, "It's All Relative," or is it? Or is it? Or until it's not, something like that. Last night, my husband and I watched The Circle, a movie based on the book by, I think it's Dave Eggers. It's sort of a story of a fictional Google's Facebook blend of business and how there's multiple themes in it, but one of them that really has been sitting with me because it's something I think about often is um, this artificial intelligence, in a sense, or these tools that let us share about ourselves, and they are encouraging. There's ways that they are encouraging us to, it feels good. We get this little, now we know this. Many of us who have read about this, we actually get a brain chemical, it's a dopamine hit that we feel good when we get a like, we get a heart, we get a wow, a surprise, or a response, a response from others, and so mimicking it's so mimicking this. The connectivity, it's a complex issue because that connectivity is so wonderful and so important, and it's what we're doing right here together. And by the way, while I talk, hopefully not much more for about 5 or 6, 7 minutes, you can be stretching, you can be setting up your seat, getting ready for our 12-minute meditation. So, what we notice when we sit on our cushion, when we meditate, we can start to notice that there is always the mind um, is constantly lost my train of thought. So it's not constant. See, it paused. It's commentating like a sports commentator, and I find that so often in my meditation, I'm just narrating, I'm planning, I'm creating, I'm solving, I'm hoping, so there's lots of thoughts and images going on, and and then the invitation is to let go, like to let go of that thinking. And then language is tricky. It's not so much that we have to stop our thinking. If you've ever tried to forcefully stop your thinking, you can probably have the experience of you're wrestling with it. It's likely to win. But because our attention, the tool of our attention, which is what the economy is vying for now, our attention can shift to our body, can shift to our breathing, can shift to our senses, just in here, opening the sense of listening, hearing, the sense of touch of my body on the ground, of the temperature of this air around me. And so we get a sense, that we get a knowing that what is knowing is something beyond thinking. Thinking is so important, so vital. It allows us to communicate here. It allows this technology to have been made. I wouldn't be able to connect with you in this way over this streaming and video if we didn't have the capacity of thinking. But thinking goes on overdrive. It becomes a Frankenstein. It becomes the artificial intelligence that takes over. And so to use this tool of thinking in the wise way, and actually I think it's anthropomorphizing it, but I think thinking gets a relief, gets like a relief that we let it rest. I'm not so sure if that's true, but I think it is. I think it is. So in the world of thinking, everything is relative. Aqua versus indigo, light versus dark, sleepy versus wakeful, and many, many shades between. And again, that is all wonderful and important. And it provides the portals for us. It can provide the portal. So it's not something we want to get rid of. It's a part of us, an integral part of us. And so we can use whatever is here right now as we pause and as we sit together in stillness and silence to to see that it becomes the object and the subject. Who is seeing? Is there any boundaries to that seeing? Can you feel that the seeing is coming from a place that was you before your parents were born, as the Zen monks may tell us? In that place, we're beyond the relative. So, thinking mind is the wondrous tool of different colors, of this carpet of different emotions, of different kinds of fiction, of different poetry, of words, of flowers, of buds, of trees, all that wonderful. And it is all contained within that absolute that is not thinking. And for us to enter into that gap, that infinite gap, that fertile void, is to know more of ourself and is to provide us an integration that we can't figure out. We can't figure it all out by thinking. And maybe you are with me in knowing that coming to these places where you so push the thinking, so determined to find something out or figure something out or find more comfort, when actually what is needed is to retreat, in a sense, to retreat from the thinking, let it have its space, its place, but realize that there's so much more. So I welcome you now to set up your seat in a comfortable way. I have a little lift under one of my knees that helps. You might be sitting in a chair. You might be sitting on the floor. You might be lying down. And I will guide us through this meditation with the three-word mantra that I often use. Oh, I've forgotten. I think I forgot last week. Let's start with our bell and our bow. But I'll start you with a three-word meditation that is a mantra that is ground, sound, and breath, that I received from my teachers, Russell and Linda Delman. And these words guide us to, they're not it itself, but they're the signposts that take us to the portals into that presence where we can feel that self beyond thinking, beyond the relative, into the absolute. And this to signify the beginning of our meditation. And getting the posture of the body just right is such an important step, very close to this step of ground. It doesn't have to be the first of these three steps. Breath can be the first, or even sound, which works wonderfully with that specific sense, the listening opening. But it's also a shorthand for space around and all that's being noticed, all that's present in our boundless awareness, all the perceptions, all the sensings. And so perhaps as I just went through those three together quickly, that already may land you to a little more centeredness, a little more here-ness. And lately, I've been starting with the breath, just really arriving to be with my breath. Just sensing what spaces of my body, what places in my body receive the touch of breath, feel the movement that is a result of the waves of breathing. And being with my breath, attending to my breath already uh, implies relationship, relativity. So you might stay with breath as your prime anchor through this practice. You might move on. I'm going to move on, not losing the sense of my breath, but moving on to the sense of ground. Ground. Even the tone implies this downward, it's more solid, more solid here. Presence of the planet, of the body. And getting the positioning just right is less about making the body do something and more about just how does each part line up with the gravitational field? How do I sense that my body can rest against that very reliable presence of ground? Through the parts touching is very useful. Body touching chair, touching cushion, touching floor. The feel of the sits bones, pelvis, the whole length of the spine, culminating in the tail, getting heavy. like a pendulum at still point. We might feel how we've chosen to place our hands. And our hands relax and enjoy being here. And sounds, sound. Little Roo dog snores. The spring songs of the birds outside. The sound of my own swallow. All relative. All expressions of the unformed. And portals, portals to the unformed, to the boundless, to the absolute, to the non-relative. So the step to the non-relative can be just very gentle, just a shift toward a grip of staying with engagement with the beautiful sound of the songbird and just opening the aperture of mind, of consciousness, opening the hand of thought and teacher writes. As if to see ourselves from above or behind, as if to see ourselves from before our parents were born, as if to see, feel ourselves from the very source of that seeing. And when that aspect of mind narrows back to something relative, For me, the something about the feel of my left eye keeps drawing me. And just seeing that that relationship is present. There's no need to, once we see that we're engaged, we can have a little celebration rather than a punishing, and lean back into the source. And closing our practice, and this is a time of transition. It's fruitful to stay aware, stay aware. We know something's come to an end. We know there's something next. But let's, as we bring our hands together in this gesture of closing and bow, head to hands to heart, we might just shorthand or write yourself a little sticky of what maybe came to you through this meditation, a shorthand you can take with you, as Mary Beth shared with me, as being useful for her. For me, the idea of leaning into kindness, but perhaps even more the remembering this whole theme of today, that wherever I am in a relative interaction, and especially as we start to feel that we're straining, that maybe strain is not needed. In fact, that's a sign that we're engaging with the mind solely or too much, and that maybe a pause in that space will bring back this openness and this connection to our source, to our absolute, which then allows for an integration and wisdom, harmony. And I'm sure you have your own words for it. So thank you for being here with me, and I'll see you next week, 10 o'clock, Sunday mornings. Sunday, yeah. Ciao, ciao. Thank you for being here.